Welcome to Mythical Madness. A lot of people today know about Greek mythology, and how could you not? It's full of crazy things, and it's been around us for a really long time. There's movies, books, retellings, comics, and a bunch of other things. Fun fact, the oldest cartoon or movie that I could find on Greek mythology when doing all this research was The Golden Touch. The Golden Touch is a silly symphony cartoon that was made by Walt Disney in 1935, and it's about King Midas and his infamous ability of turning everything into gold. In today's episode, I'm going to start at the very beginning and talk about how it all started. Between 750 and 650 BC, there was a Greek poet named Hesiod. He created the Theogony, a work also known as the genealogy or birth of the gods. It's written in an epic format and has about 1,022 lines. It's actually the first and the most complete origin story of Greek mythology that there is. So the Theogony starts with chaos, which was the first thing in the universe to exist. It's also called a kind of gaping space between the earth or an empty void of sorts. Chaos spawned a few beings, those being Nyx, the Greek goddess and personification of the night, Erebus, the place where death dwells, and Tartarus, a deep pit so far underground that it's pretty much inescapable. However, chaos also formed two other beings. Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth, and she's also known as, Mother Nature. Eros is also talked about bringing light to the universe, but it's also kind of confusing because in other mythology, Eros is actually Aphrodite's child and has nothing to do with chaos at all. In other sources I read, it was Erebus and Nyx who brought ether, the heavenly light, and day, the earthly light, into the world. So, differing sources, I guess. Today, our story is about Uranus and Gaia. Remember how one's earth and the other's the sky? Well, the two ended up falling in love and pretty much pulled themselves together, forcing the earth and the sky to kind of be one giant mashed thing. Soon, Gaia was pregnant. She had 12 titans, 3 giant cyclops, and 3 hecatonchires. And the hecatonchires had 50 heads and 100 arms for each of them. It sounds like a really bad Christmas song, but there you go. Uranus was, for lack of better words, a terrible dad. He had severe anger issues, and all his kids pretty much hated him. He wouldn't even let them be born. That's how bad it was. Obviously, being long past due with giants and titans could make anyone pretty mad, so, understandably, Gaia wasn't really happy. She made a flint sickle and asked her kids who was willing to take revenge on their dad. No one would do it. They were pretty much all too scared of him, too. The youngest titan, Cronus, he finally stepped up to the plate and said he'd help free them all. Cronus basically ended up castrating his dad with the sickle, and a lot of the blood fell to the earth, and the Furies, a race of winged crones who punish crimes, ash tree nymphs, and giants were all created from that blood falling. Cronus actually threw the severed parts into the sea, and then Aphrodite, who's famously known as being the most beautiful goddess as well as the goddess of love, was born from the sea foam, and she floated ashore to the city of Cyprus. I know, but just wait, it only gets weirder from here. Gotta love mythology, right? So Uranus, mutilated and utterly humiliated, as the story goes, either left the earth forever or basically died, promising that Cronus and the other titans would come to be punished before he disappeared. Now that dear old dad was gone, Cronus was pretty quick to declare himself the new supreme leader, throwing his Cyclops and Hecatonchires brethren into the deepest pits of Tartarus. His next action was to marry the Titaness Rhea, who was also his sister. Yep. There's a lot of that in Greek mythology. Thus began the Titan Age, and ironically, a lot of death and darkness gods and monsters popped up around this time. So, Rhea and Cronus had a lot of kids. After a while, Gaia warned Cronus that one of his kids would eventually overthrow him, and Cronus, reminded of his dad and what happened with him, thought, heck no, and Then his kids became his value meal. He swallowed them all. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. All of them. Rhea, again, understandably, was getting fed up. Finally, when she had baby Zeus secretly, she went, "Not my baby!" And so she gave Cronus a stone to eat and hid Zeus in the city of Crete among the nymphs, and eventually he grew up. Meanwhile, Cronus was getting pretty old. Zeus went to the Titaness named Metis. She gave him a potion, and Zeus, disguised as a cupbearer, gave said potion to his dad Cronus. It ended up making him super sick, and he threw up all the gods and the stone that was supposed to be baby Zeus. Cronus, now bound in Tartarus, was just the start. So the other Titans, barring the Titans Prometheus and Oceanus, who are actually brothers, well, I suppose they're all brothers, but anyway, they thought Zeus was getting pretty bold, so they thought they'd try to beat him up a bit. And by a bit, I mean completely destroy him. Well, neither side could manage to win, so Zeus freed the Cyclops and the Heliconcres from Tartarus, and as thanks, the Cyclops made him his famous thunder and his famous lightning bolts. So, armed with the lightning bolts, and all his godly and monstrous allies alike, Zeus once again said, "I'm going to war." This time, he managed to win, and he ended up imprisoning the Titans in, you guessed it, Tartarus. Anyway, one of the Titans, Atlas, he was actually made by Zeus to stand at the edge of the world and hold the heavens on his shoulders for all eternity, which sounds painful and like a horrible workout. After all this, Zeus's grandmother Gaia was once again furious, and I can see where all the relatives get their anger problems. Her children, the Titans, were all imprisoned in this deepest pit-turned-prison in the world. So together, with the personification of Tartarus, she had one last monster. Gaia gave birth to Typhus, a dragon with 100 heads that didn't have to sleep or rest at any given time. Most of the gods' reaction was, "Screw that, I'm getting out of here," and they actually all ran away. Zeus was captured, but another Olympian, Hermes, he ended up releasing him. Annoyed, again, understandably, Zeus destroyed Typhus by just pelting him with lightning bolt after lightning bolt over and over, and then he buried him under the city of Etna in Sicily. Remember the giants who were born when Uranus's blood saturated the ground? So it turns out they were pretty dissatisfied with how their life was going. So, big surprise, they tried to storm Olympus, which had become the haven of the gods. They actually tried to scale it by piling mountains on top of each other. It didn't go so well, and it actually required every god and the assistance of Hercules, also known as Heracles, to kill the giants. Therefore, the rule of the Olympians became absolute and undisputed. This concludes the Theogony. A lot of other writers tried to expand on Hesiod's work and kind of made it their own things, but this still remains the most referenced work as far as Greek creation myths go. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Tune in next time to hear about Zeus and his various shenanigans, as well as the exciting story of the Titan Prometheus and the theft of fire. Until next time, Taleme.